Wolves, I have spent the weekend, you guys, I didn't even sleep this weekend. You guys were out day drinking and
I slept.
And ripping on the Twins. Dex slept through the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view last night.
After 13 hours of my Saturday, I was in bed at 9 o'clock yesterday. So,
I spent the weekend gathering Timberwolves multi-team trade ideas.
Reckless speculation
From some of our loyal listeners and social media followers. And I'm going to give you 4 of them here in just a moment. But my first question, because this happened late last week, this Damian Lillard stuff dropped, I think, on Friday. And we didn't really get a chance to do a deep dive into it. We touched on it with Doogie a little bit. But before we get to multi-team Timberwolves trade ideas, to what extent do you think the Wolves should seriously call Portland about acquiring Damian Lillard? Like, I get that the rest of the league and other fan bases are going to laugh at that question. And if you've stumbled upon this episode via YouTube, Score North YouTube channel, like, you're probably already laughing. But Gerson Rosas has already traded for D'Lo. He's already shown a willingness and a want to go and grab top stars in the NBA. He comes on this show and says, yeah, we are hunting for superstars. And so I'm sure he's interested, even though the rest of the world might laugh at the notion of the Timberwolves. Like, of all the teams that you could go to, how laughable is it that they should pick up the phone and call Portland and have a legitimate discussion?
Well, they should definitely call. I don't think that they have, because if Dame is going to be dealt, and I saw some reports over the weekend now that say he fully expects to stay there, so I don't know what's going to transpire here. But I think you definitely make the call. But what I think you are is what we talked about last week, which is I think you are part of a facilitator for a multi-team deal. I don't think you're going to have, so if Dame is going to be moved, you should call. I don't think you're going to have the assets, or I shouldn't say that. You do have them. I don't think you're going to be willing to give up what Portland would want of your assets to get him here. And to me, Ant is a non-starter. I'm not trading Ant. I think they would definitely ask for Ant. But I do think the realistic groundwork that you could lay is, okay, that's cool. We probably can't do that. But what about us in Philly? And I don't know, take your pick, a Washington or something. Because I do think that the Wolves have parts that could definitely be dispersed in a multi-team deal that would not land Dame here, but could land a big fish here.
Dex, how laughable is it?
I don't know if it's laughable because, number one, these conversations happen all the time. I think it's less likely, like significantly less likely than getting Ben Simmons. I don't understand how it would work for the Timberwolves side. You're definitely giving up D'Lo in that instance because Dame's obviously going to be, basically your shooter there. So I don't know if it's laughable, but I would definitely focus my energy more on the Ben Simmons or even, Miles Turner is honestly more realistic than Ben Simmons too. I'd turn my attention on something that's either more obtainable or something that you've been linked to, because the Dame Lillard thing, who is one of my favorite athletes in all of sports, man. I mean, that dude is clutch like no other. I love him, but I just don't know how it would fit here with the Timberwolves.
See, I think you absolutely have the assets. I think it's just a matter of how uncomfortable do you want to get in what the Blazers' asking price would be. Because even though Judd just said Ant's off limits, well, Damian Lillard's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's in his prime. He is 31, so like he's not going to be able to play like this forever. But he's under contract through 2025. So you've got an ironclad 4-year run with Damian Lillard. Probably 2 of those years prime, and then we'll kind of see on the last 2 years. If you went to Portland and said, actually, let me rephrase that. If you went to Portland,
reckless speculation,
and said, all right, this really hurts on our end to say, but it's Damian Lillard. We're going to give you Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell. So 2 dudes, 25. D'Lo's 25, and Ant is one of the best young potential stars in a couple years, right? So you guys are going to compete this year for a playoff spot because you'll have some good pieces, and you're set for the next 10 years, maybe with Ant if you can maximize him. We'll see. But the Timberwolves would have Damian Lillard and Karl Anthony Towns as a 1-2 punch. How many better 1-2 punches are you going to find in the Western Conference than Damian Lillard and Karl Anthony Towns? Just saying, like, if you wanted to get uncomfortable and say, all right, everyone's on the table, including Anthony Edwards, you have the capital to make it happen, maybe more than, and future first-round picks. Like, you've got more to offer if you put Ant on the table. I'm not saying I would do this. I'm just saying, like, if you wanted Damian Lillard, you could get Damian Lillard, and you could make the money work out. If you had to throw in somebody else, you could make it work out. Would you be open to it? Hey, Dame
No.
and Cat and everything else is fair game.
And no, I wouldn't. And here's my problem starting from Dame's camp, not the Wolves camp. Cat's great. I like Cat. He's a good player. I don't know that he's great yet. I don't know that he's going to. I don't know that he's going to get to where his talent should get to. But I certainly am not putting Cat down. But if I'm Dame and I am potentially going to move from Portland, where I've been for a long time, I'm comfortable. But if I've just said, you know what, it's not going to work here. We're not going to be able to really pursue a championship. If I'm Dame, then I don't want to. As I'm coming to the Timberwolves, I don't want to see going out the door Ant. Like, I think Ant is an absolutely key piece. So if I'm Dame, what would excite me if something would about playing here, it's two things. The Skyways, because I never have to go outside, and the chance to play with, let's say, Cat and Ant. I think if it's just Cat, my desire to play here goes way down because I could be traded to better places then to have a real chance to pursue a championship fairly quickly.
And I think, well, yeah, I mean, I think, and
But
it sounds like he wants to go to either the 76ers or the Knicks based on a couple reports, which makes sense. Big markets, Eastern Conference too, so he can just he's probably just having nightmares every night about having to face the Warriors fully loaded and LeBron now and Anthony Davis if those guys are healthy, and then the Suns aren't going to go away, right? But I think if you were to have swapped out C.J. McCollum the last 4 or 5 years with Karl Anthony Towns, I don't think the Blazers win a title because I think Cat has a lot of work to do in terms of like defense and just intensity and stuff. But I think Dame and Cat is a much more compelling pairing than Dame and McCollum, whether it happens in Portland or which it won't. Or whether it happens in Minnesota, which it won't either. But it's fun to kick these things.
And by the way,
Reckless speculation.
according to Basketball Real GM, their trade machine, D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards for Damian Lillard is a successful trade. That's a successful trade to them. So it works. The trade,
it's a
money,
and it's a
definitely
wildly
works.
successful trade for the Blazers. Like if the Blazers could come out with something like that, they should. And Dame doesn't want to play there anymore. Unless the Blazers somehow trade McCollum for a better star this offseason, like what are they going to do with Dame? Like this is probably a good time to just cash in for somebody else. Along those lines, I've got, if you guys are interested, 4 multi-team trades.
Reckless speculation.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. So the first one's from a website called NBAanalysis.net. And this one's presented by our friends at Federated, okay? I got a feeling that if some of these trades we're about to go through come to fruition, then there's going to be a couple teams that are going to need insurance for how bad they got fleeced. And I don't know if Federated can help you with this, but they can help you if you're a business owner. Make sure that you're maximizing the success of your business, lowering the potential for risk. When bad things do happen to your company, you want to make sure you have a partner standing behind you that can guide you along the way. So Federated and federatedinsurance.com, full list of industries and resources that you can tap into. So check them out. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. Here's the first one, NBAanalysis.net. Timberwolves would receive Damian Lillard. The Blazers would receive D'Lo, Malik Beasley, Declan's guy Jaden McDaniels, a 2022 first-round pick swap, a 2023 first-round pick, a 2024 first-round pick swap, and a 2025 first-round pick. So you'd have the option of swapping if, like, because you can't trade back-to-back future first-round picks, but
Right.
you could swap picks if it made sense. You know, you'd have the option to. So
Right.
that's just a 2-team trade. But here's the write-up: at some point, the competitive Western Conference will require the Timberwolves to either make an aggressive move with Cat or to hit the hard reset button. A move for Damian Lillard would be the kind of bold attempt to taking the next step that Minnesota could need. The Suns managed to emerge as title contenders after adding Chris Paul into the mix. What if the Timberwolves were to acquire Damian Lillard?
Reckless speculation.
Whoa. So my head is spinning from all of the first round trades there, but I got the...
It's potentially 2 first-round picks
4?
and then
Okay.
2 pick swaps, potentially. Yeah.
But I get the player swap, and that is the type of trade that I'd be much more willing to do because it doesn't involve Ant. And if D'Lo has to be traded, okay, I get that. That's fine. Dex's guy, McDaniels, I think he might be involved in a deal because that's a realistic, really nice chip to trade, and it's going to get you. And if it gets you big game, like if you go out star hunting, I think any team is going to say Jaden McDaniels comes to us. And I also think that you say at that point, yes, the Beasley portion, I know he can shoot, but the off the court stuff does scare me. If that trade was on the table, I think I'd pull the trigger. I think I would. That sounds agreeable.
If there's any sort of deal for Dame that doesn't involve Cat or Ant, it's a Wolves fleecing. Like take more. Like I love Jaden. He's great. Like he's going to be a really good player. D'Lo's a really good player. Malik Beasley's a really good player. Like Damian Lillard is an all-timer. He's one of the 50 best players in NBA history. And if you can somehow land him without giving up Cat or Ant, you've made yourself a contender now, and you've preserved like your next 10 years with Anthony Edwards being a bright young star.
And I think the only way that Dame agrees to come here is in a trade like that where you leave Ant and Cat here. I just don't see him saying, okay, I'll just go play with Cat. I just don't see it. But if you're getting Ant still in the mix, I think that becomes pretty attractive. I mean, that gives you a great big three. I was going to say nice. It's not nice. That gives you a great big three opportunity. It would be really fun to watch.
All right, here's another one. All right, this is from JCakes84, a 3-team trade on Twitter.
I love the names.
That's great. Yeah, listen. There's a bunch that didn't make the show here. Okay, a lot of cutting room floor.
We appreciate those too, though. By the way, keep them coming.
So the Wolves would get Ben Simmons and Shake Milton from the Sixers. So he's like a rotational shooting guard.
Shake. Yeah,
Shake Milton. All right,
Shake Milton. Great name.
The Wolves would give up 2 first-round picks, Malik Beasley, Hernan Gomez, Culver, and Jalen Noel. And then I would add that like
not Jalen Noel.
Some of those assets would be split between like Philly would send some of those assets to Portland. Philly would keep a couple because it would be a 3-team trade that sends Dame to the Sixers. So Philly would be getting some of these assets, trading the first-round picks and a couple other things to Portland. I think, and these are all trades that worked out in the real GM trade machine. Just so you guys know. So Ben Simmons and Shake Milton for 2 first-round picks, Beasley, Hernan Gomez, Culver, and Jalen Noel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
Done deal.
Where do we sign?
We'll fax it in right now.
Yeah, seriously.
Like that's not an even. I didn't even need to give that a second of thought once you said the names.
I will say that it becomes easier to get Ben Simmons. And for people wondering, why do you guys want Ben Simmons so bad? Well, it's not that we think that he's like the player that he was supposed to be 3 or 4 years ago. It's that like if you can add Ben Simmons without giving up one of your 3 best players, and you get all of his perimeter defense and his rebounding and his distribution, like, my God. It makes your team instantly a top 6 team in the Western Conference. But I think it becomes easier to get Simmons for less if there's a 3rd and a 4th team involved because instead of looking at Philadelphia and Philadelphia saying, well, for you to get Ben Simmons straight up between the 2 of us, you have to give up D'Lo, you'd say, all right, well, like, what if Bradley Beal was involved? Like, then what would it take to get Bradley Beal instead of and now you got 3 teams churning assets? Here's another one: Ryan Voss Carlson, 5-team trade. The Wolves would get Ben Simmons from Philadelphia and Montrezl Harrell from the Lakers. He's basically like a more advanced version of Naz Reid. Just he's more of a veteran version. Naz might have a little more range, maybe not. So Ben Simmons and Montrezl Harrell. And the Wolves would give Rubio, Beasley, Jaden McDaniels, Jarrett Culver, Naz Reid, and 2 future first-round picks. I'll give you the other 3 teams in a second, but that's the Wolves part of it. Ben Simmons and Montrezl Harrell for Rubio, Beasley, Jaden McDaniels, Jarrett Culver, Naz Reid, and 2 future first-round picks.
I mean, I hate to lose McDaniels, but beyond that, did you say a name of a player that I'm going to cry about losing?
Right.
I don't think you did.
Naz makes me cry a little bit.
Reed's good, yeah.
Jaden McDaniels definitely makes me cry.
Here's where I've come around on the potential for a Ben Simmons trade from where I started at, because the shooting still does scare me, and it's just going to. But the more I talk to, or the more that we discuss this, and you talk to people off the air as well, the more you realize that if they come back with their current roster defensively, there's a very good chance they're still not good. Like Chris Finch's system could work more a little bit. I understand that. And look, defense is about effort. So I also get that if guys step up their effort, that's going to help. But Ben Simmons is a defensive difference maker immediately, who I think, and if you can leave D'Lo, Ant, and Cat on your roster, bring in a defender as good as Simmons is, you've elevated yourself immediately. And now at least a bunch of those questions about can the current group play defense are eliminated. They're gone, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I've started to come around. So beyond Jaden McDaniels, Dex, I don't think there's a name there that I'm going to balk at.
No, and I know there was the Naz Reid problems with some people, but again, if Naz Reid is the the straw that breaks the camel's back in a trade, well, we are looking at the wrong thing here. We're putting our energy towards the wrong assets. I like Jaden McDaniels. He looks like he's going to be a damn good defender, and was a steal of a pick late in the first round. But if it gets me Ben Simmons, or in the instance gets me Dame Lillard, I'm probably going to be able to pull the trigger on it. I can come to terms with that.
This 5-team trade that we just laid out, the Wolves part of it, also involves Kyle Lowry going from Toronto to the Lakers and Damian Lillard headed from Portland to the 76ers. So you'd have, and so then basically Toronto and Portland would be getting the future assets, and then there'd be other picks thrown in by other team and whatnot.
So that was who? Portland, Minnesota,
Toronto,
the
Lakers and the Sixers.
I love that.
That's
great work. That is awesome.
Reckless speculation.
That is being
Voss Carlson,
dedicated to the craft.
It is. This is great.
I know. I'm not kidding him.
We will devote a segment a day on this podcast until the league year starts. If you guys have multi-team Wolves trade ideas,
Absolutely.
run them through trade machines. I got one more here, and I'm skeptical that this actually, but I did see the screenshot from the trade machine. Joe Fritz 212 with a 3-team trade. So the Wolves would get Ben Simmons. The Wolves would give Rubio's expiring contract, Malik Beasley, Josh Okogie. You need him to just be amazing in the Olympics. Just increase that trade value.
Yeah.
And then he's playing point guard, by the way, for Nigeria. And then 2 first-rounders. And then the Sixers would spin assets to Washington for Bradley Beal. But the Sixers would somehow keep Malik Beasley. And this did get approved. So basically, Washington would trade Bradley Beal for Rubio's expiring, Okogie, who's a total throw-in, and 2 first-round picks, which seems light to me for Bradley Beal. So I would think the Wolves might have to also give up like a Jaden McDaniels instead of an Okogie, send him over to Washington. So then they'd be getting Rubio's expiring, Jaden McDaniels, and 2 first-round picks, and Beasley. So I'm gonna make an executive decision and swap Okogie for Jaden McDaniels. Would you trade Rubio, Beasley, Jaden McDaniels, and 2 first-round picks for Ben Simmons?
Yes, I probably would.
Okay.
I need to give that one a little more thought than I did the previous one, but I probably would. I guess my question on Washington is this. Because I think they're going to be, if I'm not mistaken, back to the drawing board. Like, I think they're going to be a mess again, especially if they trade Beal. So are they just looking to get as many expiring contracts as possible, too?
Yeah, I mean, I would think
Is that what they're doing?
If they trade Beal, they're definitely back to rebuild. So if you're in the rebuild mode and you wind up with 2 future first-round picks, a good young player that could be a top 3 player on your roster, and a $17 million expiring contract to at least bring in, you could use that freedom next year to sign a restricted free agent or something.
Poor Declan. Jaden McDaniels, Kevin Fiala's name is coming up. All of the guys that you have man crushes on, we're trying to run out of this town. Yep. It's not fair to you.
People get bought out, man. People get traded. It happens. It happens.
People do get bought out.
You're so jaded.
It happens.
Reckless.
But sometimes on the waiver claim,
they get
come back
waived
around.
and then claimed.
You never know.
Listen,
just grab that waiver claim.
You know what it's like? The Pirates. Like the Pirates, because they're so cheap, they'll get rid of you, bring you back for cheap for like a game or two or a night, and then that's it.
The good news is when you get bought out and you're not going out for happy hours and dinners anymore and whatnot, you got more time to golf, and so you can go to this golfer's paradise called PXG Minneapolis. It's pretty amazing. Check them out online at pxg.com/Minneapolis. All kinds of different great clubs of all price ranges. The top of the line are the Gen 4 clubs. These are the best performing clubs PXG has ever made. If you want to look sharp, whether you are golfing or whether you're just out on the town on the North Loop bouncing around to all those establishments, put your PXG shirt and apparel on and look badass. PXG Minneapolis in Southdale Center, and find out more at pxg.com/Minneapolis.
Reckless speculation.
I swear, like, if people want to keep sending us trade ideas, and by the way, like, include the Wild. I don't know if there's like an NHL trade simulator like there are in the NBA, but if you guys have ideas for how the Wild and Wolves can make their rosters better and you can get them approved through certified online trade machines, send them our way on Twitter and Instagram. We will happily devote time on this show to your trade ideas.
Hell yeah.
We will not crap on them like some other publications.
No, we don't ask for things and then mock them in our writing and or reporting. No, we don't do that.
We appreciate the work.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You're basically helping produce the show when you do that.
Thank you, by the way.
Exactly right.
On a Monday,
Takes the load off us.
Please.
I mean, a 5-team trade? That dude did a 5-team trade. Mm-hmm. That's pretty impressive.
Pretty good. All right, that's a wrap on today's Mackey and Judd daily Minnesota sports entertainment, and we just want titles. That's why we want Dame. That's why we want the Twins to be better at baseball. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
We want the LOB.